Hi everyone, Billy here with Gilbert Travels. An early morning here at SeaTac Airport, heading down to Phoenix on a quick hop and then over to Honolulu, Hawaii. So come along with us, and as we go along, I'll explain to you the process of visiting Hawaii since they reopened to tourism on October 15th last month. So haven't seen many trips to the island since they reopened, so hopefully I'm bringing you some good information if you're thinking about going. Come along, let's find out. Since the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, travel to Hawaii has required a strictly enforced 14-day quarantine period, effectively closing off the islands to tourism. However, in October, the island state announced they would allow visits starting on October 15th with proof of a negative COVID test taken within 72 hours of departure for your flight for Hawaii, not including connecting flights, for all individuals 5 years and older. The state has, however, come up with an acceptable list of lab partners which they will enforce, requiring you to get your result done via a nasal swab test at one of these labs the state has selected. This includes several official airline partnership programs. The airlines have stepped up to make advanced at-home, in-person clinic, or even same-day airport testing options available for those who want to fly to the islands, including American Airlines. Additionally, some other islands have varied policies of requiring a second test on or after arrival for some or all passengers. Honolulu, on the island of Oahu, only requires one approved test, but follows a very specific process that must be followed in advance. I will note that when I booked my tickets, the airline did not specifically say anything about these requirements, so it's definitely your responsibility to know what you need to do. And do note, it may and will likely change in the time after this video publishes, so don't rely on simply what I had to go through without doing your own research. In addition to scheduling your own COVID test, all adults must make an account on Hawaii's Safe Travels portal, which acts as an interface for both the 14-day quarantine option, which is still valid, or the new testing option. Minors traveling along with an adult can be added to an adult's profile as companions. First, you will need to make your own personal profile and verify your contact information, should future contact tracing be needed. Then you will input the flight information for your arrival to and departure from Hawaii. If you will be flying between the islands, you must also list any inter-island flights and be prepared to follow each island's specific rules. Once you have your one-page PDF of your negative COVID test result and you're within 72 hours of your departure, the website will allow you to upload the test to this portal. However, you will still need to bring a printed copy with you. Ideally, the document will be reviewed before you arrive in Hawaii. However, in my case, it continued to say verification in process all the way through my flight. Also, at 24 hours until your departure, a health questionnaire will be made available, and once completed, you will be emailed a unique QR code to show officials when you arrive at the islands, so they can access your profile and speed up your arrival into the state. Lastly, once local officials have approved your release without quarantine, your trip status on the Safe Travels portal will be updated, and rental car companies and hotel desks are required to see this before they will check you in. Should your results not arrive by the time you land in Hawaii, you have the option to either return immediately to the mainland or quarantine at your hotel until your negative results arrive and have been approved. Let's finish this morning leg down to Phoenix and find out how this goes in practice, as well as how the long flight to Hawaii was just a few weeks after this program became available. All right, made it here to Phoenix. Time to run over to the gate and get on our flight to Honolulu. It'll be about 7 hours in the air in an A321NEO. From what I can tell online, we're gonna get the same sandwich snack box type service in this much longer flight that we just got on the hop down here. So we're gonna plan to grab some food in the terminal, bring on with us, because it's gonna be a long flight. From what I can tell, this appears to be American's second A321NEO that they took a delivery of about a year and a half ago. So a little more worn than the basically brand new plane I was on a couple weeks ago. So if you want to see a full review of the seat, you can watch that video. This is more of a general review of traveling to Hawaii. So 6 hours airborne today to Honolulu. Was glad to see that they provisioned us with the day bedding kit. That'll really make this flight considerably more comfortable, especially that lumbar pillow with these hard seats. And wasn't able to route through Dallas and get on the 777 on the way out due to the flight availability and limited connections out of Seattle with American, but we will be doing that one on the way back, and I'll publish that as a separate video. But that flight would be receiving full service, but going to be comfortable. So let's get up in the air. Should have some nice views. It's a beautiful day.
The flying time will be approximately 6 hours and 14 minutes. We'll be flying at an altitude of 36,000 feet. The current weather conditions in Honolulu are partly cloudy at a temperature of 77 degrees Fahrenheit, 25 degrees Celsius. Once again, we'd like to welcome you aboard American Airlines Flight 692 with service to Honolulu.
With the American Airlines COVID-19 policy, it is a requirement that all passengers must wear their face coverings for the entire duration of the flight. Please follow the directions and the guidance for our flight attendants. Welcome aboard, and I'll talk to you once we get into our cruise.
Now that we're in the air, let's have a look at what American had on offer for this narrow-body service to Hawaii, replacing their previous 757 fleet that had operated these flights. Times are still far from the norm for airlines, and American has slashed many of the service aspects of these flights, from hot towels, warm nuts, to hot meals. Some of their signature Hawaii items, such as Mai Tais, are also not available on these abbreviated services. However, otherwise there was a full bar including sparkling wine, and individual sanitizer wipes were handed out as well. As expected, the main meal service in first class consisted of the choice between a cold sandwich or a cheese plate, and by the time the last row was reached, only the cheese plate was left. However, it was accompanied quickly by a pass at a generously stocked snack basket as well. Drink refills were attentive, and clearly the crew wanted to put their best foot forward with the tools given to them for what is still a very special trip in the skies. As for amenities, today we did receive American's daytime bedding kit with a nice woven light blanket and a great lumbar support pillow that really salvages what is otherwise a very uncomfortable seat. Since this aircraft relies on streaming entertainment, let's snap an iPad into the provided seatback mount and show you what you can expect on this trip to Hawaii. Right off the bat, I was very happy to have free high-speed internet access provided. However, it is complimentary because it only worked for about the first 2 hours of the flight. Once we got out of the mainland, it went out of signal range. When it did work, it was very fast, so make use of it while you can early in the flight. Likely related to the internet coverage shortfalls, two of American's newest app features, Live News and Free Apple Music, were not enabled at all. Having the weather is nice, but I still wish a better tracking system were given than this simple status bar. Let's jump over to the entertainment, which does not rely on the satellite internet to function. American continues to have a good system here, hampered by no fault of their own by the lack of new Hollywood releases to feature. I did think that the TV options on this flight were not as robust as I've seen in the past, and additionally there were of course no live channels on offer. Overall, provided you have your own device, this system should keep you busy as you cross 2,500 miles of unbroken Pacific Ocean. A quick visit to the forward lavatory revealed nothing too special, although it has plenty of room. With a couple of hours left in the air, I started editing this very video, then ate the salad I bought on board with me to act as a real meal. Just like that, there was just over an hour left in the flight to sit back and wait for the Hawaiian Islands to come into frame. Forms to declare any outside produce or animals were handed out, as Hawaii is so isolated that it's very important that they tightly control non-native agriculture and wildlife to avoid any invasive species. I really have to compliment the cabin crew on this flight. Considering the limited level of service items the airline provided them in these times, they really worked hard to make sure everybody had what they needed, tried to make this long flight to Hawaii feel special.
We should be landing about 30 minutes. Seatbelt sign's coming back on, so please return to your seat with your seatbelts fastened until we arrive at the gate. Latest weather in Honolulu, light winds out of the east, with clear skies and temperature of 87 degrees. It was a pleasure having you aboard this afternoon. Thank you for flying with us, and have a great day.
Upon landing, there was a random selection for temperature checks, and then it was off to the line for those arriving with a negative test. Alright, so we just made it into Honolulu. We just got through the screening process there. Obviously didn't want to film it, sure they wouldn't like that, but it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Got through no problem with our negative tests and pre-filling out all the forms like we were supposed to. So time to head over to the hotel and we'll show you a little more of what is open here in Honolulu.
I think rather than show you a play-by-play of our trip, we're going to do more of a best of. Show you what our favorite things are that we found that were open. So a number of the most popular tourist activities here, like the Polynesian Cultural Center, are still closed. And some of the other things that are open are only open from Thursday to Sunday for the weekend crowd. Either way, definitely make sure to reconfirm and double check any restaurant, any activity that you want to do, anything you want to book while you're here. Let's have a look at what our favorite things were visiting the island of Oahu here in November of 2020.
So here's our list in no particular order, and advanced apologies for any bad pronunciations. Waikiki Beach. This one I wasn't sure about going in, given its tourist trap reputation, and certainly the low crowd levels helped here. But there were beautiful outdoor malls to shop, or well, window shop in, lots of cheap eats, and a long sandy beach with cool water on a hot day, and plenty of casual surfing in the distance to watch. Waikiki is where most of the hotels are, so if you want to avoid it, you'd likely be best to visit a different Hawaiian island for a more remote feel. I do think it's worth staying at least once though. Kona Coffee Purveyors. Every great day starts out with a good cup of coffee, or at least mine do, and excellent fresh baked pastries don't hurt either. Kona is famous for coffee, and while it's located on the Big Island, not Oahu, this cafe brings their excellent beans to Waikiki and bakes delicious treats right on site, which were still warm when I got them shortly after their 7 a.m. opening. Momosan Waikiki by Chef Morimoto. While his upstairs formal Morimoto Asia is still closed at this time, and it's just off of Waikiki at the Alohilani Resort. This restaurant has more than just ramen, but nice quick service sushi, gyoza, and more, as well as some great noodles. Everything was very good, and this location is great to enjoy just after watching sunset at Waikiki. The Laylow Waikiki, a Marriott Autograph Collection resort. Marriott is my preferred resort program for its point system and perks of its lower level Gold Elite program like 2 p.m. late checkout. But I do really love to stay at a boutique hotel, so Marriott's Autograph Collection is a great way to get rewarded for staying in unique hotels. The Laylow is just a couple blocks off central Waikiki Beach, next to the beautiful International Marketplace, and features a stunning mid-century modern decor, with a nice in-house restaurant, The Hideout, and it's just steps from dozens of shopping and dining options. Our corner suite was stunning, and it had a perfect Hawaiian feel. The resort also has a nice on-site waiting pool. If you don't plan on leaving Waikiki and like to walk, you could stay here without a rental car, but I do think you'd be missing out on some things we're about to review. Pearl Harbor. While most of the public access is still closed, as a lover of history and a proud American, visiting Pearl Harbor was a long-time goal of mine. Whether you're a U.S. citizen or not, this is a must-do on Oahu. The short boat trip and 30 minutes of reflection on board the memorial to the USS Arizona remains open with advanced reservation through the U.S. park system. Sunk in the Japanese surprise attack on December 7, 1941, which resulted in the U.S. firmly entering World War II, the Arizona was the site of 1,177 casualties when a chain reaction of a Japanese bomb landing on its own munitions stockpile violently destroyed the battleship, making it one of only a trio of ships that were ultimately unrepairable for the Allied war effort, and it is the permanent resting place of almost half of the total lives lost on that day that would live in infamy. Some of the 334 members of the USS Arizona who survived the sinking have chosen to be interned with their fellow sailors and Marines upon their deaths, which continue to this day. The Arizona itself still famously leaks from its own oil reserves, which is expected to continue for centuries to come. The site is a beautiful and somber testament to the sacrifice made and a fitting reminder that freedom is not free. The Pali Trio. The Pali Highway is the quickest way from Honolulu to the eastern windward side of the island. It's also a nice scenic route through the mountains. If you have a little more time or traverse this route more than once, divert to the smaller parallel Nu'uanu Pali Drive with its tree-covered canopy. Both will lead you to the Nu'uanu Pali Lookout, which offers a great panoramic viewpoint of the eastern coast of Oahu. Do be aware that it's famously windy here as well. Waimanalo Beach Park. If the bustling Waikiki beach line resorts isn't your dream, a drive to one of the island's many other beaches is in order. Really, anything called a beach park will likely have some good parking lots and restroom facilities available, and we stopped at the Waimanalo on the windward side, about a half an hour from Waikiki, and it's the home to long stretches of beautiful sand and waves with much more space to find your own patch to settle in, swim, and catch some sun. Halona Blowhole. Drive east out of Honolulu past the Diamond Head on what is perhaps the most stunning stretch of road I found on Oahu, and stop at the Halona Blowhole. This unique geological feature is set at the base of a beautiful cliff and spurts up water as the rolling waves cross ashore. Adventurous beachgoers will want to climb down into the neighboring beach cove by the same name and bob around in the same rolling waves as they come ashore on a small white spit of sand. Uncle Clay's House of Aloha. Shave ice is a perfect fruit-flavored alternative to ice cream on the islands, and while we also visited Matsumoto on the North Shore, which offered a more fancy snow cone experience, this small shop in a strip mall in East Honolulu offered a much more natural ingredient approach and was decadent and delicious. It's also perfectly located to visit on the way to and the way back from Halona, Sharks Cove. Oahu's North Shore is famous for big surf beaches in the winter, and while the conditions on our trip did not allow for us to have views of surfers conquering some of the largest breaking waves out there, we did stop at Sharks Cove, a massive tide pool that allows beachgoers views beyond just sand and waves, and could even be snorkeled from shore in its deeper areas. Even wading around in the shallows, vibrant, colorful tropical fish, crabs, sea urchins, and more were easily seen in the crystal clear and still waters. So in summary, should you come to Hawaii right now, even though it's a little bit of a pain to get here and comply with all the rules, well, if you like big crowds and long lines, I'd say you should stay home. But if you want to come to what's normally a very packed tourist destination and enjoy it in a much more slow-paced fashion, then come on over to the islands of Hawaii and enjoy yourself. Thanks for coming with us on this video. We'll see you on the next flight review. Billy here with Gilbert Travels.
In the meantime, please remember to like, comment, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be made aware first when more content is available. As always, thanks for watching.